FSU Pistols and Pies starts right now. Here's Jeff Cameron.
The Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV begins right now. Ira is here. Corey is on the computer screen. We're all here together. Thanks for joining us as always. What's up, boys? You guys doing all right?
Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me okay? Locked and loaded. Jeff, great job. Great job getting this thing going. Yeah.
You know, I work for that kind of praise from you.
That's what keeps you going.
I was driving in today on I-10. I was like, man, I really hope I nail this.
I can get an attaboy from Corey.
Just some sort of glint in the eye when he sees me pressing the buttons and it's on
like
time.
when your dad.
Oh, yeah.
You made him proud. And you can feel that. When you get that from Corey, that validation, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Speaking of, it was my dad's birthday yesterday. To bring it down real quick.
Yeah, I was going to say
my dad's birthday yesterday.
Well, my real dad and the show dad will be here. A live dad will be here on Friday, guys. So there you go. You get to see him again.
I'm gonna try to call your morbid joke, Corey, by telling you that last week was the 10th anniversary of my dad passing.
Man.
So now you're gonna bring us up from that.
So the good news is my live dad will be here Friday, and like I said, guys, you'll have somebody to hug. A dad.
Yes.
Can I say? Honestly, one of my great regrets for my dad passing away, it's been 13 years ago now, he never got to taste register sausage. It wasn't in our lives at the time.
Well done. It's like you've been doing some radio over the years and starting to get it a
little
bit.
It's starting to come in.
Yay, sausage on that note. He's talking about register sausage. Of course he is, and we always have to thank Ben. You know, Ben's got to be loving life right now, and the fine folks at Register Sausage. There was a transition. I'll give people a sneak behind the curtain. There was a transition from the way that Register Sausage is billed within the company, okay? Mm-hmm. And now I'm in charge of the billing. Haven't billed them yet. It's been months. I haven't billed them yet, guys. So I don't know what to tell you.
Ben's like, this is so much better.
This is a much better arrangement. Jeff never reaches out and bills me.
He's thinking you're not going to bill him until they win a game. Like, that's our deal. You only get charged if Florida State wins a game.
Yeah, well,
you had to pay up last year.
Yeah, buddy. If we lose this one, I'm charging you for a year in advance.
Please.
For fear you're going to run for the hills.
But you guys don't have to worry about all that. If you order directly from registermeats.com, you can have the best andouille, the cheddar and jalapeno, the short links, the baby links, the original sausage, the hot sausage. All the varieties are there on the website. You can have it delivered to your house. But if you live in this part of the country, you don't have to wait for that. You can go into your local grocery store, ask them for it. They probably have it if you're in this part of the country. If they don't have it, talk to the meat manager. Make it happen. Registermeats.com is the website. Get you some register sausage.
All right, so we're going to begin with you, Ira, because Corey's in Atlanta, and I didn't go to practice this morning. You did. We feel any better about what we saw out there today? Is there anything you're allowed to say that makes us feel, or the fan base feel like Saturday's not going to be another nightmare?
Come on, dog. Let's go.
Pressure on you, man.
10-2.
Oh,
10-2.
Baby. Corey,
after what I
we are so back, everybody. Here we go. Ira said it.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty good practice. I think that I do think some of the players are taking Mike Norvell's message of the week to heart. Clearly, he talked about it on Monday at the press conference. A couple of the other assistant coaches talked about it, and then some of the players spoke about it today. And you're seeing some of it in practice. Where they're, it does seem like they're trying to be a little bit looser. And when I say loose, that doesn't mean like not do their assignments or just have fun, but just try to have fun playing football, like making good plays. There was one of the best play of the day, and probably one of the best plays maybe of this preseason.
Can I warn everybody? I'm going to let you go ahead and say everything about this play, but you told me about it before the show, and it just upsets me because it just hasn't happened in a game at any point.
Well, I'm going to focus on the aftermath of the play.
Okay, good, because this is going to sound a lot like the things we told people were happening in practice prior to the start of the season.
There was a play today where DJ throws a deep ball, Kyle Morlock, fingertip catch, brings it in, contested, beautiful catch, comes to the ground. Mike Norvell afterwards
that's just what Morlock does. He just makes tough catches.
It was also a beautifully thrown ball, as I understand.
So, but my point is, as he catches it and tucks it, comes down like literally half the team runs down to celebrate. Well, you see that sometimes, and there's been times where you feel like maybe it's a little bit forced. It felt like there were guys genuinely excited for him, and I feel like you saw some of that today. I saw some guys trying to, just again, like I'm not saying they had a bad attitude before, but just trying to have maybe some of the chemistry they had before the loss at Georgia Tech. I'm starting to feel like, man, the Georgia Tech kind of game maybe beat them twice in terms of creating the stress and the frustration that led to some of the poor play on the next Monday. I could be wrong. Maybe they'll go 0-3, but my theory right now is that I think that confluence of events hurt them. The way they played against Georgia Tech hurt them in the next game, and we'll see. Now, again, it has to show up on Saturday. I thought today was a pretty good practice.
Can I make an observation that it literally just occurred to me as you were talking? Because we're all fans of Mike Norvell. We all certainly appreciate what he's done for this program. But when you go back and think of the last 2 or 3 years, I feel like there have been stretches where his teams have played tight. I thought when they were 4-0 against Wake Forest, that did not look like the team we had watched the first 3 or 4 weeks. They looked tight all game against a bad defense. In 2022, I'm talking about. In the other 2 losses, I just think NC State had a good defense and Clemson. I mean, they were a little tight. Last year, the Miami game, extremely tight. The Duke game, they were losing in the fourth quarter to a team with essentially a backup or an injured quarterback. They looked tight in that game. Is this something that maybe he's kind of reflected on and been like, maybe my team is a little too tight and this is something I have to not reinvent the program, but kind of reestablish what I want our identity to be, in the sense that we don't always – it just seems like sometimes his teams play a little tight. Is that fair, or is that me because they're 0-2?
I think it's a little of both, Corey. I think that you may have hit on some instances where they were tight, but I also think we're desperately searching to try to explain how a team is 0-2 that has more talent than both of the previous opponents. And, I don't know. They weren't tight against LSU in New Orleans. They showed up for a huge game, and they weren't tight against LSU.
But those are different circumstances. Those are games where you've got to play great, and it's not don't lose this. I do feel like there was some of that last year when they started playing well and there was more on the line. It's like, oh man, we can't screw up. I'm not saying that that's the reason. There's a million reasons, man. This is all like one big stew of suck right now.
Yes, it is.
But I do think there's something to that.
It's the sorriest stew I've ever tasted.
Did you have some stew in Ireland?
Who made this stew? This is ass.
Did you have some of the stew in Ireland?
I did not. I did the year previous when we were there.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
a lot better than the stew we've been seeing on the field.
The stews on the football field have been forever. I'm not tasting that stew anymore. I don't trust it. You can't offer me up any stew this weekend. I'm going to have to hear about how you guys thought the stew was. I'm not doing it. I'm disgusted by this, but man, I don't know. Perhaps you're right. There are any number of when you start to lose, it begets losing, and it begets a lot of other things, stressors and frustrations.
But I guess my point was losing an opener in Ireland shouldn't then beat you again 9 days later. I don't know. I just think and I'm not taking they say they take the lead from the head coach, but that's weird to already be so pressing so much after one loss. And I'm not disagreeing. They looked tight. They looked as tight as they've ever looked in that Boston College game.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, so Mike Norvell I've been meaning to ask him. I asked him today about the speed numbers and the explosive. The two things, a few things they track with the GPS. Two of the big ones are speed, 21 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, whatever it is. And then also explosive movements. And they can actually track when a guy's coming out of his break, how explosive is he? And they have the data from practices to say, okay, normally when we run this is how explosive this guy is. This is how long it takes him to get to top speed. And he said in the Georgia Tech game, the numbers were not anywhere near what they had been in practice. Well, that's to me, I think that was a combination of overconfidence, arrogance,
yes,
and then being surprised that it was a game. Like, I think that took them by surprise, and they could just never get out of it. The BC game, what he said was the numbers were actually much better, closer to what they're supposed to be, but there was a lot of hesitation in different situations. Guys either not knowing the assignment, not being aggressive enough. But I think, again, man, I'm playing pop psychologist because we're trying to figure out why this team's 0-2. But you could see a scenario where the pressure mounted in the second game. The first game, I do think they were overconfident and arrogant. Second game, you could see where because, man, the whole season felt like it was on the line. If you don't figure this out right now, this season's over. And so, again, we'll see. There is a path. If all of that is true, there's a path for them to play much better.
Speaking of real quick though, Jeff. Speaking of GPS,
he doesn't want to hear your.
You're going to wait. I have the power of turning off his mic.
There you go.
But I'm not going to do that. You're just going to wait. So here we go. What day of the week do you think your GPS numbers would be best, Ira?
So what they do is from what my understanding, because I did a story on this for you. Are you asking me specifically?
I want to know what day your GPS.
Oh, I think
what day would you really show some numbers where we're like, damn?
Friday, you'd like my numbers.
Oh, Friday. Corey, what day? What about your numbers?
Well, any day, Jeff. I'm always.
He gets after it Thursday night at the corner.
It's crazy that I got interrupted so he could ask you your best day for miles per hour.
I wanted Corey to feel the banality of what he asks many times or the way that he misdirects the show. So I thought, hey, there you go.
Give him a little taste of that.
And here comes my misdirection is what did you think of the Clark family's GPS monitoring? The text that I sent you guys on Sunday night.
That's what you were trying to interrupt him with?
Yeah, that's what it is. I knew it was coming. So I beat him to the punch. We've done this show together a long time. Yeah.
So everyone, I had my son. You see those signs on the road sometimes that'll be the electronic speed limit signs where they'll say you're going too fast and flash what your speed is. I had Brady run past one to see how many miles per hour he could get up to, and that was fun. It was 29 miles an hour, way faster than Daryl Jackson.
Offer him a scholarship now.
Yeah. Trey writes, I'll be getting drunk early Saturday, fellas. I just thought I'd read that from the chat. That's the kind of contribution we're getting early in the week here, guys.
I mean, it's a noon game.
It is a noon game, so by definition,
you're getting up and getting after
That's right. You can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning. So there it is. You got to get after it right off the bat. I think lots of people are going to join you, Trey. I think lots of people may have started or may start tonight. Yeah. In preparation for Saturday's game.
Is this a Cat 5 maintain? Is this a Cat 5?
I was just about to say a nooner against Memphis was not the Cat 5 maintain we wanted.
It's a tropical depression.
It's the Cat 5 we may need.
Tropical depression that hasn't been named yet.
Yeah.
But it might be named.
out in the Atlantic.
This one. We circled Clemson as the first Cat 5 maintain. This may be it right here, boys and girls. We got to keep it together. I know a lot of you are in the back alley already. You're hitting the pipe. It's tough times. I think some people get mid-season when they get nervous because there's a lot on the line. If we think our players are playing tight 2 games into the season before the big Memphis matchup, I'm a little nervous.
We as a show, though, do not recommend the fentanyl. We don't recommend that.
No, we do not.
It's weird that you felt the need to declare that. We
let people know because, if they're going to get after it, Go with the bottle. Go with the liquid.
Leave the pills alone. Leave the pills alone. Get you some weed, maybe a few beers. Let's just keep it together.
Speaking of
everybody.
the weed,
yeah.
So somebody that was at the game on Saturday told me that a lot of people around them were getting after it with the weed, which
it's modern. This would be anywhere you go.
In a stadium, though, I didn't know that was cool. And I'm with you. That's why I said everywhere you go. But in a stadium is kind of interesting. And then also. But that may speak to the level of play.
Oh, I think we got to start. Maybe a lot of people. Trey said he's going to drink early, but I bet you people are going to get high early. This could be a wake and bake kind of day for Florida State Memphis guys. That's a new kickoff.
Should be a new promotion. They can do somebody in chat. Gummies are okay. They do you get 2 tickets, you get some gummies free. That comes with the package. Parking and gummies.
Every game would be a sellout. Really, guys? Hey, listen, when you get to the gate, I know it's a construction zone. We're stressed out. The in-game experience hasn't been great. The play on the field's been awful. But they'll give you some weed when you get there to prep you.
And the change with the music this week is just a lot of Floyd.
There it is.
A lot of Pink Floyd.
Grateful Dead.
I was going to say you could give them people E and turn it into like a rave.
That's what they were trying to do last week.
Yeah, I know. They thought it was a rave.
I don't want people wearing bunny ears and pacifiers jumping around in the stands. No.
That wouldn't play well on TV.
Doing that, they'd be like, "This place is crazy." They've gone crazy at FSU. The snub ruined everything.
They're doing the LED games. Lights.
They're all hot. Goofballs.
Like the Colorado game when FSU went out there.
Yeah,
they kept panning the crowd, and all you just saw was these stoned Colorado kids.
Yep, thinking about hacky sack. It was tough, man. It was. Those were the days. I think everybody needs to be in some altered state to watch this Florida State football team right now. I will say, guys, there's a path to 3-2 if you bother to care this weekend. Like, you got to show up here. If you are physical and you execute at all, I do think after watching Memphis this morning, I like this matchup for Florida State. Now, I say that understanding they're 0-2 and they lost at home badly to Boston College. I got it. But I do think this sets up fine for Florida State physically. Let's see if he still has the team, man. I think it'd be pretty damning if they go out there and they're listless. I got to see something from this team.
Agreed.
Some kind.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, but when you say that you think they match up well,
yeah,
you feel like it's a good situation for them in this game. I felt like the first game was a bad spot.
Right.
BC, whatever. This game, you feel like it could be a good spot for them. Is that if they just play average? Like, do they have to play a whole lot better than what they are? You basing that on what you thought they were going to be, or what we've seen in the first couple of games? I'm
kind of basing it on what I saw Memphis do in the first two games. And in terms of the lines of scrimmage, this matches up well for Florida State. I hate 3-3-5 to begin with on defense, which is what they run. Now, they'll walk guys up and change the look of the front. They try to time the snap. But I think physically, if you can, first of all, vary your snap count. Let's not let them time the snap because they try to do that a lot. But you get them out of that, I think you can run right at them. I don't think you run to the edges here. I think you run right at them, and you bully them a little bit here. We'll see. I mean, this offensive line's been bad, but I think you got a chance here.
You pay a little bit more attention, a lot more attention to some of the draft stuff, especially this time of year. Like that BC defensive line, they're pretty good.
They're not bad.
They're not bad.
No, they're not bad. And they were veteran laden. They were all those things. But I don't.
Because there were some situations that guy where dudes just got blown up.
Well, I'll tell you this:
the
end beat Darius like a drum, and
Maurice had some rough snaps too.
Maurice had a rough 2 games. This has been interesting and unfortunate. I don't see anybody like that from Memphis.
Okay,
I'm not seeing a guy where I'm like, well, that's a dude. We got problems here. Right. Again, they ought to be able to run right at this team. I think you want to simplify things anyhow. I'll be very curious to see how many young guys play in this game. I'll be very curious to see if Brock Glenn plays in this game. I don't mean start, but I mean play.
How did old Brock Glenn look on Tuesday?
It was a good practice for him. And it's important to bring that up because I think on Thursday or Friday, whatever the one practice we saw last week, didn't look sharp. But no, he looked good today. I thought for most of the practice, he looked really, really sharp. And I think that you can see him, it's what we saw out of him last year when Jordan got hurt. Excuse me. I think Brock had it in his mind even before Tate got hurt, got concussed, and before Tate left. I think Brock thought that was his opportunity to take over. And so I think today, man, he looked good. Again, I'm not saying he's taking over. I'm not saying he's taking the job. But I'm with you, man. If Mike Norvell is going to sit there and say in the press conference yesterday that it's guys that give us the best chance to win, not necessarily, somebody wins the job and everybody else sits. Guys that can help us win games. I mean, I think Brock Glenn can help you win football games because of his athleticism, because of his toughness. One thing that, going back and watching the Boston College game, one thing that bothered me that I didn't really notice live because it's just hard from where we're sitting, some of the body language from the receivers, like when DJ had bad passes or threw it away or whatever, it looked to me like a couple of the receivers had pretty bad body language, like they didn't have confidence in what was happening. And I'm not saying that they're being bad teammates. It's human nature. So I think maybe giving Brock a chance, even if it's just a series here or two, might be good for these guys to just get some energy again.
I think it'll be, look, man, I was talking to Aslan about this. It would be much more beneficial for DJ, who we all think will start, for this to be a road game. There is an extra amount of pressure that comes where he knows that the first bad incompletion he has, the first 3 and out, there will be boos. He's going to be booed at home because he's not he's not a Nole. He's only been here for 8 months. People don't have this isn't the same thing as like booing. Jordan was 2021, but booing Jordan in 2023, that was never going to happen because he was a Nole. He built up goodwill. This guy has no goodwill built up in the fan base. The only time they've ever seen him play well is when he was beating their team 2 years ago. So there's no goodwill here, but it's good to know. So there's pressure on DJ. And I think what Brock Glenn can do with another good practice, if he had, like he sounds like he had a good one on Tuesday, is he puts himself at least in the conversation if DJ struggles again. He's an option. You can't just say, all right, Brock's been a much, much worse than DJ in practice, but we got to do something. But if DJ struggles again and Brock has put himself in position to earn the trust of the coaches that he's starting to play better and starting to run this offense better, he gives himself a chance to get in the game if DJ struggles. You hope DJ doesn't struggle, but through 2 games, that's kind of what we're expecting on Saturday until he proves us wrong.
You know, it's interesting. Once you make the decision to go to Brock, let's say he has success. If it was planned in terms of you have packages for him, hard to pull him out of there. If he starts to have some success and this offense starts moving, it's kind of like there's no looking back.
But I think that's where if you do it as if packages, then you do have an out. If it doesn't go well, hey, DJ, we're going back to you. If it goes well, then yeah, man, problem solved. Let's ride with Brock until he proves he can't do it.
Well, and in the era,
but if you make a change,
right, a wholesale
now you wonder, is DJ stay invested? Because it is his 1 year.
Yeah, and the point is, though, I think less and less coaches will have to feel some sort of indebtedness to players that they're paying. You're going to get paid either way. You already got your money. Shut the hell up. You've played terrible. Sit down. Like, if they have to. Right. If they have to. They don't want to do that, but if they have to, they can. Seminole Headlines, 93.3, Real Talk Radio. Warchant TV continues in just a moment.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air, online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
This announcement is brought to you by Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey.
If you're driving right now, you should know there's an 80% chance that the cars all around you don't carry any bodily injury insurance. Most people don't realize it, but in Florida, all the law requires is that drivers carry property damage insurance. This means that the texting teen drifting over into your lane or the drag racer on your rear bumper have no way of compensating you or your loved ones when they cause a crash. And this should scare the hell out of you. Fortunately, there's an easy way to protect your family from this, and it's called uninsured motorist coverage. It's an absolute must, but a lot of insurance companies are convincing folks to drop it just to save a few dollars. Take it from the personal injury experts. Don't. At Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey, we've recovered millions of dollars in uninsured motorist coverage in crashes where our clients would have otherwise received nothing. So please, call your agent right now and make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage on your policy. We hope you'll never need it, but we'll be here for you if you ever do. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Don't settle for less.
All the way. 222-7722. AC and electric is what we do.
Is your air conditioner operating at maximum efficiency? Is it tuned up and inspected to help prevent a summer breakdown? Now that we're in the middle of the Tallahassee heat, it's important that your answer is yes to both of those questions because you need the system running smoothly to help keep power bills down, and you definitely don't want a breakdown with a 105-degree heat index. Contact Parker Services today and learn about their Peak Performance membership. It's a low-cost way to keep your AC tuned and catch potential problems before they happen. And there are many other benefits, including priority service and a 15% discount on repairs. Call Parker Services today, and you'll enjoy peace of mind within a few days. CMC 050334 and EC 1301240.
Pinch a Penny Pools has the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the city. You might even call it Tallahassee's Hot Tub Hub. 12,000 square feet of hot tubs, with over 50 of them on site. Over 20,000 gallons of tub capacity to choose from. That's 4,620,000 cubic inches of hot tubs. But I digress. So why should you own a hot tub from Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. Number one, health benefits, of course. The healing powers of soaking in a hot bubbling pool of water go back centuries. Google it. Number two, Pinch a Penny has hot tubs with technology called Freshwater IQ. It gives you real-time chemical readings and tells you exactly what to add to keep the water at peak perfection, with automated analysis to help you control the chlorine and pH. It's hot tubs for dummies. Sign me up. Number three, they have the best prices, of course. Plus, you get a free accessory and no interest financing. Easy peasy. But if you don't want to take my word for it, check them out yourself. Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas. Locally owned, locally operated, and the easiest way to find relaxation at home.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
By the way, fellas, Mike gave us a great clip we could use really pretty much the rest of the year. I don't want to have to use it the rest of the year. Hopefully not. But there have been issues is an all-timer.
There have been issues.
Oh, Corey, why are you not up? You're on, partner.
There we go. You got to unmute me. I didn't unmute myself. I didn't mute myself. But wasn't that about the quarterback play that he was talking about?
Yeah, he gets asked about it, and it's the best because Mike is so careful with his words, and he doesn't want to drag people through the media. And I was watching that. I'm like, Tom, put that on the board, please.
There have been issues.
Because, Ira, I think that was your question. You're like, could you describe basically through 2 games, what have you thought of DJ's performance? And he goes, well, I'm not going to point fingers.
Well, I was like, could you quantify how much is DJ and how much is everything else around him?
Yeah, and he said,
there have been issues.
Yeah. Yep. We know.
It's so good. It's so good. I've had to we've all incorporated there have been issues in some form, whether it be in an argument with our wife or in which we're trying to explain the importance of something to our kids that they're not doing. There have been issues with putting the dishes in the sink. There seems to be some issues with this room staying clean. There have been issues.
Did anybody take out the trash?
Yeah. This seems to be an issue, a growing issue, guys. We're not getting these things taken care of the way we should. Yeah, I'm just going to use that from here on. I have it on my phone. So when I say something to Clark and he starts to, I'm going to be like, there have been issues over and over and over again.
And you know what you do with issues? You address them. And how are they addressing that particular issue, guys? How are they addressing that issue? And does anybody on the team have any confidence that that guy is going to turn it around and be a good quarterback on Saturday or for the rest of the year? That's an interesting dynamic of this team that they haven't had to worry about really since fall of 2021, where they've had bad quarterback play.
Yeah, I mean the problem is, again, like the equation we all kind of were operating from, including probably the coaching staff, was that they were going to be throwing the ball maybe 25 times a game. Like that was never going to be the game plan that they had last time out, that 40 something passes. And the thing with, DJ is, he's just never been a high accuracy, a completion percentage passer. So he's going to have misfires. Like unless Mike Norvell worked a miracle, which he didn't, then there's going to be poor throws from time to time. But the receivers and the running backs and the tight ends have to catch the ball when the ball is there. And in that game, when you're trying to pass the ball because you feel like that's going to be your best chance to win, and he's not very accurate, and then you've got guys dropping passes, well, man, you got no chance. So it's not the reason I asked for the percentages thing was because I don't think it's all on DJ. And he's not he's not a good enough quarterback. Like Jordan, if a guy drops a pass or whatever, it wasn't that big of a deal. But when you're not accurate to start with, those guys have to cash in.
I do think, too, you got betrayed a little bit by some guys you really thought you could trust in a singular game. I'm not talking about what's going to happen in the future or even what's happened in the past, because these have been good players. In particular, Lawrence Toafili has been a great player for them.
Yeah.
And that third down drop at the start of the game, it turns out to be huge.
So,
you can't get off the field on defense. You've got a chance to stay on the field on offense. You don't convert. It's a great play call. He's wide open. It's a perfect pass. He's going to go for 25 yards, and inexplicably, it goes right through his hands. And the other guy was Morlock, who was by far the most consistent catcher of the football all camp. Yeah. He couldn't catch a cold in that game against BC. 2 guys you thought you could depend on, really big-time drops. I like both players. I think they both, especially Toafili, but, man, that hurts.
And all it did was provide the spark for the fans who already didn't believe in DJ and already wanted to see Brock land, and now it's like, man, you're giving them on the silver platter a chance to boo this kid.
And he chipped the bricks.
He did chip the bricks a little later.
He did chip the bricks.
He chipped the bricks afterwards, I think.
Well,
because they weren't in scoring position.
That's true, but the chipping of the bricks was the final straw, buddy. When we're out here chipping bricks, Corey correctly pointed that out. It's going to be tough to come back from that one, especially that on the throw in which you chip the bricks, Holmes is open by 10 yards in the end zone. I mean, it can't happen.
And you also had Ja'Kai open in the back of the end zone the play before that, and your 6'5" quarterback gets the ball deflected at the line of scrimmage too, which is that's tough.
As a good faith gesture. So, like when the Orioles they got new ownership this year.
Oh yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
And the first game of the season,
they had him in the booth.
Before they went to the bars on Utah Street. Before the game, and we're buying everybody drinks.
Well, that's a hell of a gesture.
If
Boog's barbecue too?
Yeah, I don't know about the barbecue.
Okay,
no, free
can I get
barbecue.
some Boog's barbecue
but
as well?
If he has to go wait in line and pay for that. But if DJ had. The next time DJ throws a pass like that or ships some bricks,
go buy some beers.
Michael Offer just starts handing out the gummies.
Oh, gummies? And DJ goes to the bars and buys beers. And the kids will love them, and the adults will be on the gummies, and everybody
back in.
We got this in.
So they come back from halftime, and DJ's in street clothes, and he's basically just a beer vendor walking up.
But free. He's using his NIL money.
Bought him. He's got money. He bought him. He's just handing beers to people in the crowd. Okay.
I mean, look, man, we can all be bought.
Oh, yeah. Right? Everybody's got a price. Mine might just be a pitcher of beer.
And a gummy or two.
Yeah, give me a gummy or two.
You're never going to boo someone that's handing you a free beer. That has never happened in the history of humanity.
Right?
Yeah, so it's smart, Ira. It's smart.
We're coming up with answers. That's what we're solutions. We're solutions.
What's crazy when you say that, though, about you didn't ever think Florida State would throw 42 times. No, you didn't. They just lost to two teams that threw a combined 31 passes against them, 10 of 15 and 10 of 16. We kind of thought maybe that was the recipe, and instead you had the recipe used against you in two losses because your defense can't stop the running game very well, and your offense can't run the ball at all, which really hurts things.
Why are you trying to bring us down again?
Corey, sorry. We've already discussed the fact.
There have been issues.
We already know this.
Yes, correct.
This is what sparked the conversation.
Sorry.
It's like a Mad Lib. You just insert whatever you want into that space. Like you could be talking about the defensive line. You could be talking about the quarterback.
Well, that actually
talking about.
It's funny, except for you're having to laugh to keep from crying because you are correct. If I play,
there have been issues.
It could be about a lot of things, right?
The delay is so great. It's my favorite part is he's just like issues. Yes, it makes me mad that could apply to everything but kicking.
Other than Mastromano and Fitzgerald.
But kicking a football in any capacity.
Getting plays in on time.
Communication.
Apparently
tackling.
Apparently the iPads don't work.
By
the way.
How about that?
Yeah.
Can Aslan was talking about on Wake Up. He's like, "Are y'all ever going to put Mike Norvell on coach speak?" And I couldn't think of anything he had said that would, be fodder for that. The fact that the iPads didn't work at all in August because of the construction on the stadium.
I don't know, man. Hey, look, man. I think maybe his point is, look, nobody's getting Wi-Fi in that place until this thing's over. We never had Wi-Fi in that stadium. Why should that be any different? Try to check a score of a game from inside Doak Campbell Stadium, and we think these guys are going to be downloading film on their iPad? Do they have special wires?
How about my $10 million a year coach be able to access the internet?
It would be nice. It would be nice.
Does he not?
Bad things are. We just glossed over that.
I bet one of those kids has a. One of those kids has a personal hotspot on their phone. You could hook up all the iPads.
Hi, Keen, bring your phone over here.
What's your password?
You got an iPhone? What's your password?
This is this is where we're at, folks.
There have been issues.
Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Your local news now.
2 non-students arriving from another local high school were arrested after attempting to enter Leon High School with a stun gun. One arrestee had the stun gun in their possession after they arrived on campus in a rideshare car. The pair were stopped by school resource deputies and the 2 have been arrested. It is unclear which local high school students attend and why they were at Leon High with the stun gun. The arrests come almost a month after a Leon High School student was arrested for bringing a weapon to campus and a week after a deadly school shooting in Georgia that killed 4. A slew of arrests have been made in the days following the shooting. for threatening school statements made in Pelham, Thomasville, Quitman, Valdosta, and Madison County. Experts are urging people to get their flu shots as they are seeing a new strain emerge. During this time of year, COVID-19, strep throat, and the flu are all going around. It's important to make sure you are up to date on all your vaccines and stay home from school or work if you feel sick. This is Rachel and A with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Cloudy skies this afternoon with a slight chance of thunderstorms. Daytime highs approaching 84, northeast winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Slight chance for storms tonight, lows dip down to about 74, overcast skies. Cloudy tomorrow, chance for storms, high temperatures reach up to 81. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 83 degrees.
Your destination for the most authentic Peruvian flavors in the capital city is Café de Martín and El Bar, where you can escape to another world and indulge in the true taste and experience of Peru. Enjoy daily lunch specials like our all-new lomo saltado or beef asado sandwiches served with a side and a drink. All-day happy hour every day and exciting live entertainment every weekend. Join us this Friday at 7 p.m. for the exciting sounds of CJ Beach. View our full menu and live music schedule online at cafedemartin.com.
Howdy, folks. Jeff Cameron here to tell you about my friends at Dexafit Tallahassee. What is Dexafit, you might ask? Well, it's where you want to go if you're looking to elevate your health and fitness journey. Dexafit's exclusive services include AI-enhanced body scans, VO2 max fit testing, and RMR metabolism analysis to provide detailed insights into your body composition, cardiovascular fitness, and metabolic well-being. Sounds like a lot of science, but that's because it is. The most advanced science available. In fact, that's a good thing, right? Dexafit gives you immediate detailed insights about your body composition, provides a customized plan to improve on troubled areas delivered in an easy-to-navigate mobile app so you can share the information with your trainer or even your doctor to find the most direct path to your peak health. Check out Dexafit Tallahassee, the most accurate and most state-of-the-art body composition scanning and fitness planning available. Located on Capitol Circle Northeast, directly next to Bumpus. Check them out online at Dexafit.com and tell them Jeff Cameron sent you. Dexafit Tallahassee. Know your body and transform your life.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
I bet you didn't figure that we would be questioning whether or not Mike still has his team as we get set to head into this game against Memphis. Like that it could be on the line. How about that? That it could be on the line. If you go 0-3, everything's on the table in terms of what we think is going to happen after the season, save for Mike's not getting fired, obviously. But like anybody else on that staff would be a candidate to be fired. The fans having kind of checked out. They don't have to be great, but they got to care and they got to show that they care. And there has to be some sense that this team is still together and that he hasn't lost them and that the locker room's not gone and that the culture's not affected. You know, you can lose games, but it can't look like that through 2 weeks. So I'm very, very curious to see, do they show up? Do they look like a team that's together and playing hard on Saturday?
Yeah, because they don't have to play great. They don't. They just have to play. They just have to play, do their assignments, do their jobs, play hard, be physical, and just do what they do in practice. They should be fine. They don't have to do anything special. The other thing I would say, though, is, when you look at, I brought one of the questions I asked at the press conference was about, when Corey asked his question and turned this whole thing around 3 years ago when they were 0-4, what they got praised for after the fact was the fact that Mike and the staff never changed. Like they kept the same approach, kept doing what they were doing. The players realized, okay, we have to join them because what we're doing is not working.
Yeah.
And we've got to buy in and do what they're going to do. And then they finally found that crack in the second half, I guess, Louisville, and they ended up turning things around. This is different, though. This is a different challenge, though, because you've been on the top. This is not like, hey, we're trying to get somewhere. You've already had success, and now you've kind of faltered. So I don't know that you can use the same exact approach. So he's got to figure out how to reach this team, I think.
Which button to push? It's incomprehensible, Corey. It's incomprehensible that we're sitting here having this conversation for the reasons Ira just said. I wholeheartedly agree. When you are rebuilding and you are trying to turn around a program both in the locker room, a culture, on the field with talent, raise the floor, all these things, a lot of weird things happen. We see it. Nick Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe or whatever it was that first year. I mean, people have these strange games.
Notre Dame just lost to Northern Illinois.
Right. It's these things happen, but it's almost a lot of times that's forgiven when a guy is trying to get his system in place and get his kids in place, and you're trying to, change everything about a program. When you've already successfully done that and gone 13-0, you do not expect to be having these kinds of conversations a year later. I don't know that I've ever covered a team where that was even possible. I've never even seen anything like it.
It's odd because it is a really unique year because so many of these guys, a lot of them anyway, were on the undefeated team from a season ago, but they weren't the guys. Patrick Payton was a starter. DJ Lundy played a lot, but they weren't leaned on to be the guys. And it's like, and I'm not just trying to single out those two or point out those two. I mean, Patrick Payton hasn't had a good start. Marvin Jones has not really impacted anything yet. It'll be nice to see him against a more traditional offense and not a sprinter at quarterback. But you remember we all remember the 2014 season where those guys clearly were a little bit more lax. They weren't nearly as physical in games. They took their time before they started caring about the actual game, it seemed. They probably didn't take the practice all that seriously. But all those guys were national champions. And we're going to the league. These guys, I'm just surprised because so many of these guys still have so much to prove. Like DJ Lundy wasn't the reason that they went 13-0 last year. And I'm not just picking on him. Shaheem Brown, the offensive line, any of those guys. It's like there's no physicality and urgency with the way they play, which is very surprising to me because none of them individually have accomplished enough to feel like they've arrived, that they're the badass. And yet through 2 games, they just got pushed around a lot, and it's been very discouraging all the way around. And they haven't pushed anybody around on offense.
Yeah, and my point was that you couldn't have seen – you could point to problems last year. We didn't think they were a perfect team. I've talked about comparing the program whenever I'm assessing or trying to analyze where they're at to whichever is the best program in America at the time, because Florida State's ceiling is that of the best team in the country. So you want to compare and contrast yourself to the best, which is Georgia, in my opinion, over the last 5 years, right? So I didn't think this team was as good as Georgia last year, even though they went 13-0. I didn't think they belonged in that same kind of conversation. So we knew there was more work to do, but you had a ton of goodwill. You had already proven yourself as a coach in flipping this thing around. And the fact that you had built a team, a program where even in days in which you had injuries or you didn't play well in the second half of the season, the offense wasn't very good, you still won games. They were still tight. These were guys, tied together. These are guys that fought for one another. There was enough in place that you could have that season. That's why you could not have seen this start coming. You could have seen an 8-4 season coming. You could have seen a 7-5 season coming, maybe. But I don't think anybody would have said, yeah, you know what? I didn't like the way they played towards the end of last year. They got further to go than people realize. I think they're going to lose to Georgia Tech and Boston College. Yeah. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
No, for sure. But I think that, I wrote a column that's on our website right now. You can read it at warchant.com, where I think where things to me started going in the wrong direction was when Mike Norvell made the decision along with his staff that they could make another run this year. Because if you think about what they did we had this conversation, we had an argument basically on the show last November about what they were going to do this offseason. And Corey felt like they need to go out and make a lot of acquisitions and try to keep this momentum going. You felt like maybe not, maybe just get a few guys and just kind of use this year as a step back, but try to build back for 2025. In hindsight, I feel like that may have been the right approach because they couldn't get a great quarterback. And like, I know Kyle McCord's doing great at Syracuse. That would, if they had gone out and got Kyle McCord, who hadn't played, people would have been like, what are you doing? There's no way you could have seen that that's the answer.
In retrospect, they should have gotten Kyle McCord.
But
I saw what he did against that Georgia Tech defense.
Based on what we knew now,
I know
it made more sense to get somebody who's played. And again,
wasn't McCord the Ohio State quarterback last year?
Yeah.
Well, and he played all the whole season, Ira.
The fans
ostracized him. I didn't think he played the whole year. Did he?
No, he had a few bad throws, and then they ostracized him.
Yeah, he lost to Michigan with a couple bad picks, and they let him go. But no, he was the starter all year.
But it wouldn't have been you wouldn't have felt great about that, would you?
No. And I don't think he would have, because of the offensive issues, If he was here, it ain't like they would have thrown for 400. He would have thrown for 400 yards against Georgia Tech in Ireland, like he did on Saturday against Georgia Tech at Syracuse. But I think there's two factors there. If they wouldn't have gone in heavy in the portal, I just was not. I didn't think they had enough coming back to even be competitive. Like I didn't think they had enough on their roster without hitting the portal again to maybe even be a bowl team. Now they're fighting that now.
But here's the thing. Here's where, to me, where it's people are wanting it both ways, and it's revisionist history to say that they should have gone away from the portal earlier. If they had done that, they wouldn't have done anything. And we talked about this on, I think we might have talked about on Jeff's show. Like Mike Norvell would have got fired 2 years ago if they had never gone into the portal. Yeah. Now you could say they stayed in the portal too long. Maybe,
or that
but
the portal's
again,
constantly changing. There are more people. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is changing.
But that's what I'm saying. You can't then go back and say, "Oh, you should have been high school recruited."
No.
At the time, I mean, again, man, like there's no way he turns this thing around as quickly as he did without being heavy in the transfer portal. And then last year, some of the last pieces they got were the guys that kind of put them over the edge. Keon Coleman, some guys. So to me, to then turn around and say, "Oh, you should have been recruiting high schools." That's not fair, man. Like that's the only reason they've had the success that they did.
Yeah, I think that you have to be able to change as this changes. And we do know that they've said it. They want to be much better in the high school ranks. This is the chicken or the egg thing. I really like we've talked about, right? Had you not flipped this thing through the portal to where you were attractive for high school recruits to even look at, you wouldn't have this conversation full blown, right? You wouldn't even believe it was possible to be good in high school recruiting because we would have still been a dormant program. But he flipped it using the portal. Now, it's a nuanced discussion because you could have always said, look, there's some guys on the staff that aren't very good recruiters, and you maybe need to have a better balance of your staff. I think he's finding that out perhaps right now. I do think changes will happen at the end of this season. I don't know which changes. It depends on how they play. But the portal's also changing, right? Now more people have accepted it as a thing. Everybody but Dabo. So now you're dealing with more people trying to fight it out for those same players. Also, teams that have recruited really well out of the high school ranks for five-star kids aren't letting those kids get into the portal. We're not seeing that as much anymore. You're not going to see a bunch of Keon Colemans. There were no Keon Colemans in the portal this past year.
You started this conversation by saying you want to be where Georgia is.
Oh, yeah, that's the goal.
That is the goal. There was no path there. My point was
without the portal.
When Mike Norvell got here, there was no path to that. Like that wasn't even a possibility because to get there, you'd have to go back to the old era of college football where coaches got 5 years to build a program.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore, man. You got to fix it, especially with that portal sitting there. And, again, I'm not defending everything Mike Norvell's done, and I'm not saying they don't have issues on the staff. I think they do. To me, the answer is not just go get better recruiters. And I feel like that's the conversation some people are bringing. And it's like, man, that's they even if they had better recruiters, I don't think that was the path to turning this thing around.
Yeah, at that time.
Go get better evaluators would be something you could say, or better teachers, whatever the case.
But they evaluated really well, Corey, prior to this year.
I know, but there are certain positions.
But we also don't know that these guys that they brought in this transfer class.
I'm not even saying it goes. I'm not even talking about Florida State specifically. I'm saying you want to go get better recruiters. I don't even know what that means with the NIL deals. I don't know what a better recruiter is. You could have me as a recruiter trying to recruit DBs, and if I give them a bag, Corey Clark's a closer. Like that's the reality of it. So I think it's more about evaluating the right people to give the bag to, and then developing them. But going back to the overriding point or the start of this conversation, I thought they had to make more moves than you guys did last November, just because I didn't like the makeup of the roster. I thought the makeup of the roster last year with Tate Rodemaker maybe being your starting quarterback, you didn't know who your wide receivers were going to be. Clearly, it's not that talented an offensive line. You were going to win 3 games, and you can't go from 13-0 to a losing season. And I think you have to make the portal run. But it's not that hard, man. Miami last year was a joke. They're now a number 5 in the country with one off season. Like it can happen.
Corey,
so I think
this is
you
a
can
1-year rental for Cam Ward, and they'll turn around. And if they don't have another guy waiting in the wings that they're going to pay, they're going to be terrible. They had no choice because they went all in on their head coach.
That's my point about Cam Ward. This fantasy that people have, that Florida State made a choice to go cheap and
which
get
they
DJ.
Didn't do that.
And there's no chance. There was no way Miami was not going to. And I get it, man. Maybe Cam Ward would have said, I think Mike Norvell's a better coach. Maybe that's a better situation. For whatever reason, maybe he would have believed that. Miami could have given him another $1 million.
But
they had to make it work.
That's not the conversation I'm having. I'm not having or relitigating Cam Ward or not. I'm just saying that as a head coach, the way college football is now, I don't think you go into an offseason saying, I'm cool, let's just tread water or let's go a little bit backwards. I think every goal every year when you're at a place like Florida State is to get yourself a playoff caliber team.
Well,
Get yourself a playoff caliber team.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Mike Norvell's never done that. Like they never went out and got starters at 10 positions. Like that's what they tried to do. They're trying to get starters at quarterback, running back, receiver, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, and safety.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot in a transfer portal when you're not the biggest spender out there. And so I think the right approach probably was somewhere in the middle. I'm not saying he shouldn't have gone in the portal, but to go get a quarterback. And because one of the points that Jeff made, I feel like I'm making your argument for one of the points Jeff made was you do have the resources are finite. Like it's not like a salary cap where that money's going to be there every single year. Once you decided to spend a lot of money on this class, that's less money that you have for the next class. Now you can recoup it, but it doesn't automatically come from any kind of contract.
But also, I
was going to say it comes from the beer, the gummies you give for the the tickets you're selling with the gummies.
That's the way to get donations.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch Georgia, and you're right. That's a tough route to get to and be able to navigate. But I will say that so Ohio State and Georgia recruit exceptionally well. There are other programs that recruit really well and sustain that level of recruiting. And then therefore, when you do go to the next guy, he's better clay you're molding, Corey. It's not like the floor is so low. You brought in a 5-star here and a 4-star there and a 5-star there. And if you retain those guys, now that's getting harder to do if they don't play right away. But if you retain those guys, when a guy leaves, like Jordan Travis leaves, you don't then turn and have to take a chance on a DJU who's never been elite. DJU's been good at times. He's never been elite. Mike took that chance. So far, it hasn't worked out. It's looking like a whiff right about now. It's frustrating. I think there's a balance to all of this, and it's constantly shifting, and it's very, very difficult.
That's a great point. I think that is the thing that Mike Norvell and his staff, everybody from top to bottom of his staff needs to realize that this sport is changing so quickly from year to year. The market changes, the sport changes, that what you did last year doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work this year.
And the hard part now is like, if you have the kind of season it looks like they're going to have, well, you're going to be impatient again. I think to Corey's point, and we only have a minute here, but I don't think they would have won 3 games, Corey, but I get your overriding point. I think there might have been some pressure after going 13-0 and having gotten screwed by the committee not to take a big step back. And if they perceived that going to Brock Glenn was a 7-5 season or an 8-4 season, they may not have had the patience to do that. Plus, they may not have thought the fans had the patience for that or whatever it was. I don't know. But
plus the other factor that's out there that we can't quantify is they're trying to get into another league.
Yeah.
And having a bad season wouldn't help that cause. Now, I don't know that it dooms them, but it certainly wouldn't help.
Man. It's just the weight of the world in this hour, man. We have really documented
too much. It's too much.
Going into this game, guys. There's a lot on the line this weekend. I'll say this. We got a lot of headliner questions to get to. We will do so momentarily. Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio. Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Hey, headliners. It's time to talk Shopify. As you remember, a couple years ago, we decided to create and sell Headlines merch for the best podcast listeners in the world. That's you. But I had no idea where to get started. Now I'm selling Yay Sausage shirts, and it's so easy, all because I use Shopify. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Whether you're a startup working out of your man cave or IPO ready, Shopify is the only tool you need to grow your business without the struggle. Shopify puts you in control of every sales channel. You could be selling Don Julio socks from Shopify's in-person point-of-sale system or offering headline shirts from Shopify's all-in-one e-commerce platform. Whatever you need, you're covered. What I love about Shopify is how no matter how big you want to grow, Shopify gives you everything you need to take control and take your business to the next level. Because businesses that grow, grow with Shopify. Sign up today for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/warchant, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/warchant, all lowercase, now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. That's shopify.com/warchant.
954-369-6171. Again, 954-369-6171. This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, and I'm at 954-369-6171.
Equal housing NMLS 373031.
I'm attorney Dana Brooks with Basic Brooks Law Offices, and we believe you. Now, what does that mean? Over and over, we hear from the people we represent that when they shared their story of how they were injured, either law enforcement, insurance companies, or business owners just didn't believe them. That's why you need an attorney who has your back, no matter what. An attorney who starts by believing you're telling the truth. We're Facing Brooks, and we believe you. Let's talk. 850-777-7777.
This is Jay of Paul's Termite and Pest Control. There are many companies out there selling pest treatment programs at prices which seem too good to be true. Like most things, you get what you pay for. Let's separate the fact from the fiction. Fiction. The price these companies offer includes all visits needed to keep a home pest-free. Fact. Their prices only include regular visits for exterior treatments. If you encounter pests inside your home, these companies will charge you for additional visits. Is that really pest prevention? At Paul's Termite and Pest Control, we always apply exterior treatments, but our plan includes a significant difference. Whenever you encounter an interior problem, Paul's technicians are there, usually the same day you call, and there is no extra charge. With ProShield, you'll never pay extra for providing the service we promised. Pest prevention for your home, and we'll be there as many times as needed to honor our commitment with no extra charge. Paul's Termite and Pest Control is a local company that proudly serves the Tallahassee area for over 50 years.
For the elimination of termites and any other pests,
call Paul's. We'll get them all.
And we make lawns greener, too.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT. Present Tallahassee.
Your sports action update on Real Talk 93.3 with all the latest odds from Vegas. Brought to you by Palmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with two great locations in Tallahassee.
Florida Gators hosting Texas A&M and SEC football, the Swamp on Saturday. The Gators are the 4-point underdog, the total 49. Florida State looking for its first win of the season after back-to-back losses to start the year. They're a 5.5-point home favorite with Memphis 52 at Doak Campbell Stadium. UCF a 2-point dog at TCU. South Florida laying 11 at Southern Mississippi. Jacksonville Jaguars a 3-point home favorite against the Cleveland Browns at Everbank Stadium on Sunday. 42.5 the total. Ronaldo Lopez on the mound with the Braves today, $1.62 favorite of the Nationals. The Rays are a $1.50 dog of the Philadelphia Phillies. Bundle and save with Progressive. Progressive.com. For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Sennett, Real Talk 93.3.
Timmy, everybody. Great job. Next up for our 5th grade class recital, we have Samantha.
10 times better performance can make a big difference. Castrol Edge Motor Oil gives your engine 10 times better high-stress performance. Castrol Edge, better oil for maximum performance. Now through December 28th, Castrol Edge and Edge High Mileage Motor Oil are on rollback at Walmart.
Claim based on sequence time tests under high-load conditions versus API SP test limits.
Progressive presents Renter's MVP's Most Valuable Possessions. Today's MVP, Joe Fallon's bedroom mini fridge. Sure, this pint-sized chiller's max capacity is 3 soda cans, but what it lacks in stature, it makes up in cooling strength. Each beverage a perfect 37 degrees every time. And the 2 feet Joe walks to get a drink, priceless. That's why his mini fridge is today's MVP. Keep your most valuable possessions protected by bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not.
Due to customer demands, Falmers has extended their end-of-summer sale until Monday, September 16th at both locations. Many have saved big, as much as 70% off their favorite items, including jewelry, electronics, bikes, and tools. And now you'll buy with even bigger discounts. Plus, Falmers is now discounting all pre-owned firearms, too. This is a great time to buy from Falmers. And if you have something of value you no longer need, use that item as cash. We'll trade with you. Hurry in for your best selection. Falmers Pawn, Gun, and Check Cashing. More than you might expect with 2 great locations.
This is Alex from Falmers. We've been buying gold and silver jewelry, fine watches, and other collectibles for over 45 years. But did you know Falmers buys and sells gold and silver coins, bars, and bullion? Don't get scammed online or pay high shipping and handling fees. Call or stop by Falmers for a quick and easy quote. No matter if you're new to investing in bullion or have been collecting a lifetime, Falmers is your local source for buying, selling gold and silver coins and bullion. Falmers, more than you might expect with 2 great locations.
Games for Less, Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used games, as well as new and used consoles like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Atari 2600, PS4, and PS5. You name it. Locally owned and operated since 1994, trade-ins are not only welcome, but Games for Less pays more for your trade-ins than the big chain stores. That's not all. Games for Less now buys and sells new and used vinyl records to boot. George loves the Beatles, by the way. Reserve all the new releases today at Games for Less, conveniently located in the Walmart Supercenter Plaza on Appalachia Parkway.
This month, new Titan trucks have 0% financing for 60 months. Plus, you get $5,000 off. It's the best truck deal with the best warranty in America. We're getting into a brand new Nissan Sentra starting at $420 a month with no money down. Only at Kraft Nissan Tallahassee.
Here's a tip to keep it cool from E&B Heating and Air. Your outdoor unit works better if it's clean and clear of debris. Plants, grass, weeds, and trees can reduce performance, raising your power bill. Visit enbheatandair.com to get a free quote today.
It's time for Seminole Headlines, featuring Warchant.com's Jeff Cameron, managing editor Ira Schofel, and senior writer Corey Clark. Your weekly dose of all things FSU, pistols, and pies starts right now. Here's Jeff Cameron.
Hour number 2, Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV begins. Corey and Ira are here. I'm Jeff, and we'll get to those headliner questions momentarily, but not before we say thanks to Dr. Birch and Birch Orthodontics. Doing great work, still steady kicking ass in the world of orthodontics, I guess I would say. Yeah. Yep. Best in the business. We tell you about them every week, and for good reason, but we appreciate their support and collaborating with us. Birch Orthodontics.
She can't be in a good headspace right now.
I haven't seen her lately. I don't plan on going by anytime soon.
The losses weigh on Dr. Birch a little bit. She's a big Nole, loves the Noles, has invested a lot of time and money in supporting this program and supporting us. And when she was living life large last year, like all of us, and so this has got to be tough for her. But it wouldn't affect the work. Jeff,
Robert wants to know if she can run block.
Dr. Birch, I'll tell you what. I think Dr. Birch can set the edge.
Yeah. She would at least give it a go. She's tough.
She is tough. I've seen her on some problem cases.
Yeah.
I think maybe our kids on occasion. But yeah, birchorthodontics.com is the website. They do tremendous work, all the latest techniques and technology. And you go in there, you never know who you're going to see. She's the orthodontist to the stars.
That's true.
Of Tallahassee.
Yeah, when I went in that second time with Clark, when I was really worried about the diagnosis, I said, well, what do we think?
There have been issues.
And I, when I heard that, I thought it was an understatement, frankly, but I knew what she was trying to say. She was trying to be polite.
If she thought those teeth were just issues.
Yeah, I thought she's tackling way worse. Yeah, just to describe those as issues makes me feel a lot better. Birch Orthodontics, everybody. Birch Orthodontics. All right, here we go. Hey, boys, we're so into nicknames these days. I think DJU has to be dubbed the Brick Chipper. If you could choose one guaranteed power-up for the team this Saturday, would it be good offensive line play, 2, great receiver play, or 3, good front 7 play from the defense? Eat registered sausage, everybody, and make sure to visit Heather K. Birch Orthodontics. Thanks, David.
We can pick one. I'm going to go offensive line.
Me too.
Me too. Yep.
That's unanimous, David. Yep. We're all going offensive line. That'll be the cure to what ails you. We've got Logan asking whether or not us 3 are personally frustrated that DJU was announced as the starter this week. No, not necessarily. I don't feel a sense of frustration. I'm curious.
Yeah, no, I wasn't surprised by that at all. So that would have been the only way. I would have been upset about it, is if I fully expected, and all the signs were that he wouldn't be. I just don't think they were going to. It's not all on him. And I think they do believe he can play better. And I feel like they do feel like he right now gives them the best chance to win. I'll be disappointed if they don't give Brock Glenn a chance at some point to see what he can do.
Well, unless DJ's playing well, right? Which is a big if. Yeah. But, I think we all assume that Brock Glenn is at least in the conversation to play this week if there's any type of struggle at all. And look, it isn't like Brock Glenn has outperformed DJ in practice, but at some point the games matter too. Like if you go in there and you just kind of melt in the front of the lights. I brought this up on Wake Up too. It's like all these pitchers we hear about at Florida State that look great in scrimmages, look great in pins, and they get in the game and they walk 3 straight guys. It's like, well, at some point if he keeps walking everybody he faces, you can't play him anymore. So this is like I feel like this is kind of the it game for DJ. If he doesn't play well, you don't just make a change to make a change. Brock Glenn also changes your offense because of the mobility. He can change your offense a little bit. He can do something that DJ can't do. Now, DJ theoretically is better running the offense than Brock, but that's just in theory at this point. It's not in practice, or it's not in the game anyway.
This is a question that I think a lot of people have on their mind. It comes from Zach. Are the relationships these coaches building with these kids so surface level that 2 bad games make them rethink their commitments already? Seems concerning since we're 23-6 since 2022, which, by the way, is the 6th best record in all of college football. So Mike and staff have proven they can win here. Plus, our collective is a top 10 to 15 in the country. You would think both of those things would help you overcome an 0-2 start. Or maybe I'm overthinking this, and it's just as simple as Texas or other SEC schools have more money than us. Well, listen, one thing to note here, Zach, there was, with one of the recruits, there was a sense that it was trending that way. It was trending that way before the season began.
It was like a matter of when.
Yeah, it was just a matter of when. The other one, it is disconcerting. Texas looks like one of the best 2 teams in the country currently. Yeah. It's early in the season, but they certainly look like that. I don't know that this was over money per se. I mean, and also, by the way, when somebody decommits in week 2, week 3, you get another bite at the apple as the season goes on. Who knows? We'll see what happens. And even if you don't get him this year, maybe you get him the following year if he doesn't get playing time right away. That is the benefit of high school recruiting, is that if you recruit a kid out of high school and you lose out to another team, as we saw with Marvin Jones, you may end up getting him back if you're the runner-up. Whereas in the portal, if you recruit a guy and he's got 1 year, there ain't no second chance. So,
it's really hard. It's really hard to kind of even talk and write about recruiting anymore. It just is, because you don't. I don't know that relationships matter that much, but I don't want to dismiss them that they don't matter at all. There's a balance there. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we don't know why that guy committed just because Florida State looks bad, or because there is going to be more money on the table, or he does see, maybe it is as simple as he sees what this team has looked like its last 3 games. If you want to go back to the Orange Bowl, which we don't on this show anyway. And like, okay, well, I could go play for a team that's going to be in the top 5 next year, maybe. But he's not going to play. He's a defensive lineman going to a big-time school, wherever they end up going, Texas or wherever else. They're probably not going to play much next year. And like Jeff said, we can be mad in the moment, but next year, in 2026, he might be on your team. You never know. I think
they're different. I mean, different kids have different motivations. There are some kids where relationships still mean a whole lot. Yes. And some kids that are committed to Florida State right now, that's a big part of it. There are other kids who care about really 2 things. One is, can you help me get in the league? Are you going to put me in the best position to go in the league? To me, if I'm KJ Bolden, that's going to weigh more heavily to me than relationships.
By the way, huge mistake on his part. Huge mistake on his part. What was he thinking?
But so if I'm KJ Bolden or Jeremiah Smith or some of these guys, like, it's not like they're passing on you to go to Florida. I mean, there's some of these situations, they were going to incredible situations. The Falk kid, the defensive end a few years ago, he's from that state and he stays in that state and he gets paid a lot of money. So there's different factors for each case, but it's not just about relationships. That's what bothers me. It's not like it used to be, where if you've got a great recruiter, you're going to recruit well.
No, it's a balance. It's definitely a balance. You got to be able to come with it with the potential of NIL money. You certainly got to build relationships. I think the earlier you reach out to a kid and identify him as an elite player prospect, it certainly helps you if you're in on them early. Some kids that we've lost, we got in on a little late. That's the complaint from some people. So I think there is a balance there. Yeah, and in some cases, by the way, it is as simple as not being able to match a bid or being unwilling to match a bid in some cases. Sometimes you just don't want to reset the entire market for one player. Right. I mean, I can't imagine it's going to go over real well the first time that you decide to pony up $4 million for a high school player and he sucks.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a toughie, and so there are schools who can do it, but I don't think Florida State's one of them, and Florida State's not broke. They're between 6 to 14 in terms of spending in NIL. How much better is this team if you just add Jordan Travis at quarterback right now, along with Tatum Bethune at one of the linebacker spots? This is from Juice Cryer's fan club president, by the way.
Oh, right.
On Twitter.
A lot better.
2-0.
Well, I think he's probably making accurate throws, so they're 2-0. Yeah,
definitely 2-0. But that's not to say it's all on him. But he could mask a lot of missed problems.
I think
if you've got a good quarterback, that's that's kind of where we go with Cam Ward, Miami, and Miami looks great right now. But they haven't obviously played. Florida did not show any pulse on defense in that game. really anywhere on that game. Then they played FAM. So we'll see when they play, when they play USF, how they look and how Cam Ward looks in that game will be a little bit better idea of what that team is.
Burke wants to know, along the lines of low man wins, Jeff, it seems both defensive line and offensive line have forgotten this. Do you think in practice neither was truly beating the other? Seems like an attitude issue at this point. I don't know. When I go back and watch the first two games, the interior of the defensive line gets doubled a lot because those two guys are talented. They're daring the ends to make plays. They're daring the linebackers to make plays. They're daring the safeties to make plays, none of whom have. And it's very, very frustrating. There's a miscommunication problem at linebacker. There's a lack of trigger and aggression. There is a terrible angle problem at safety. There's a lot of missed tackles. There's just a lot of problems. As far as the offensive line goes, that has been problematic because Byers was out, who, by the way, played well against Georgia Tech, was out. Then you had to play Robert Scott. Well, Robert Scott, unfortunately, has never returned to his form that he had a couple of years ago before he got hurt. And then also, I think Darius, that's a tough night for him, man. That's bad film. I hate it for him. I like that kid, but he's off to a terrible start. Maurice hasn't played well, and he's been a dependable player. Yeah. I don't know what to say about that other than I'm really surprised to see Maurice play poorly, and Darius has been awful. And there's no other, you can't sugarcoat that. He's been awful. And I don't think
the whole offense has been awful. I think going back to the defensive line, it is tough to judge Jackson and Farmer. They have not been dominant, but I don't know how many tackles Braden Fisk had through the first month of last year's season. He was a good player. You're not gonna stuff stat sheets as an interior defensive lineman typically, but with those defensive ends, talk about horrible matchups. Their strengths, what they're here to do, what they're getting paid to do, literally, is to rush the passer. And they face two straight teams that just don't do that. Even their throws are quick throws. Right. The defensive ends have been kind of exposed a good bit in defending the run. But, they're supposed to be pass rushers, and hopefully moving forward as you face teams that don't have these really, really mobile athletic quarterbacks and a strong running game, you'll get to see them make an impact, right? Like if you double team Darrell Jackson and Josh Farmer are always chipping with those two guys, and these 11 and 7 have one-on-ones on the outside, well, go eat, man. Go eat. That's what you're here to do.
Yeah, I thought they played tentatively before fear of getting burnt with their legs. I also think they were arrogant against Georgia Tech. The Boston College game, man, what frustrated me about that game, Corey, is truthfully, they didn't ask Castellanos to do anything with his legs until the final drive. So you had opportunities, and you never really got after him on third down. I don't know if you were scared that he would burn you, but we saw in the second half of the BC game last year, once they ratcheted up the pressure, it took away one side of the field and changed the game. When they were just letting him do whatever he wanted and mush pushing, that he did anything, he ran for days. So I don't think you can play defensive football with that level of passivity. I think you have to be aggressive. And I think that's something I would look to see in this game against Memphis, which is, look, man, we're not doing anything well right now. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to play downhill. We're going to punch somebody in the face, and we're going to try to make some plays.
You're not going to hold the ball. You're not going to hold the ball for 14 minutes.
No, you may score quickly, but we're going to get the ball back. We're not doing this. Seriously, I'm not doing this. We're going to do something well. I'm going to ask my linebackers to play downhill. I'm going to ask my defensive line to reset the line of scrimmage. You're either going to get the ball out of your hands and exploit that, or I'm going to sack you, and it's going to be 2nd and 16.
And I think if you go back to camp, we expected the defensive line to be really good based on what Farmer and Payton had done in the past and what Marvin and
Lola?
No,
Darrell Jackson.
What they look like.
Oh,
so that's why we thought that line would be really good. The DBs, I think we all still have tremendous confidence in.
I do too.
But they're a non-factor if you're letting people run the ball for 270 yards. They're not. That's not even. So forcing teams to throw it would be huge because that's into the teeth of your best part of your defense.
Yes, and you've got to get people into 3rd and 6 or more often. They're usually in 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. I've got Mike talked about it today. I don't know if it was your question. They have the entire menu because they're constantly in 3rd and short. It's not 3rd and 8. But even when they are 3rd and 8, we don't get pressure on the quarterback, which is a little bit damning. But 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 2, you can run the ball. Yeah. And that is maddening. That's one of the reasons you couldn't get off the field against Boston College is they were not in unmanageable, untenable situations in 3rd down. Jason wants to know if we think it's over under 3.5 new assistant coaches next year. That's a good question.
I'd say under. I think 3 is probably the max, I would think.
Yeah, 4 would be just like upheaval. Wow, that would be a lot.
Now, if they keep on losing,
well,
then,
he could fire everybody.
But I would think 3's the max. I would think. What about you, Corey?
Yeah, I would say the money you would have to spend on those buyouts, because they all have multi-year deals, instead of firing a slew of coaches, you could save that money for the buyouts and then go pay and get better players.
Michelle writes, is it possible that soft factors are adding up for a negative impact? Out of the country for game 1. New coach for BC, new head coach for Boston College with no prior tape, game 2. Well, we knew what he was going to run, though, Michelle. Pivotal transfers with first year in a new system. Stadium renovation, club music too loud. She just keeps adding, yeah.
They don't help, man.
No,
The Ireland trip does not help. The fact that you played Georgia Tech and Boston College in the first and second games, and Brent Key and Bill O'Brien are very close. Bill O'Brien coached Brent Key. They've known each other for 30 years. Having those two back-to-back probably wasn't ideal in terms of, they could have shared resources on scouting Florida State all summer, because each had them for their first game.
Yeah.
So, I just think, there's a lot of things, but if you're where you're supposed to be, none of it should have mattered.
Right.
At least not to the end result. But I do think there's a lot of those soft factors that have not worked in their way. And Adam Fuller made a comment yesterday I thought was really – there's 2 comments from the defensive coach yesterday I liked. One was John Papuchis explaining that the defensive ends don't always set the edge. Yeah. Sometimes they are spilling guys.
Yes.
Because a lot of times people assume if somebody gets outside of the defensive end that he didn't do his job. It's not always their fault. The other thing was Adam Fuller was like, yeah, man, when we make mistakes, the ball always finds that hole, and it's like, when we talk about baseball in the playoffs, if you've got a shortstop who can't field, the ball's going to find him. Mm-hmm. And it seems like in these first couple of games, when they have had a miscommunication, when they've had a player in the wrong gap, things like that, the Trayshawn Ward bounces back into that hole. He could have just run into the line and got tackled for no gain. But no, he bounces back and turns it into a huge. The ball is finding those spots. So I think they've had some bad luck too. Bad fumble luck, where twice now in each game. So I do think that those factors are not helping.
The kid they're 2 good running backs at Memphis. The 5'9" kid, if you try to crash from the away side, he will cut back and exploit you. He's got good vision. He's played a lot of football, and he'll embarrass you. So they better be disciplined going into this game. But if they're physical, they should be fine. I'll be very curious to see where they're at, where their head is at here, because I think they do have a matchup this weekend that actually is beneficial to them. To Corey's point, you're not playing a guy this weekend that is just going to run around and make you look bad. There's not even the fear of that, really. You should be able to get to him. Hopefully we see some of that. Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV continues in a moment.
This announcement is brought to you by Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey.
If you're driving right now, you should know there's an 80% chance that the cars all around you don't carry any bodily injury insurance. Most people don't realize it, but in Florida, all the law requires is that drivers carry property damage insurance. This means that the texting teen drifting over into your lane or the drag racer on your rear bumper have no way of compensating you or your loved ones when they cause a crash. And this should scare the hell out of you. Fortunately, there's an easy way to protect your family from this, and it's called uninsured motorist coverage. It's an absolute must, but a lot of insurance companies are convincing folks to drop it just to save a few dollars. Take it from the personal injury experts. Don't. At Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey, we've recovered millions of dollars in uninsured motorist coverage in crashes where our clients would have otherwise received nothing. So please, call your agent right now and make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage on your policy. We hope you'll never need it, but we'll be here for you if you ever do. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Don't settle for less.
Not only does Swain Pools and Spas sell the best selection of hot tubs and spas in the city, but Swain also builds, services, renovates, restores in-ground pools. Is your pool ready for the summer season? Ask about our scheduled maintenance plans to ensure your pool is always clean, balanced, and ready for a swim. Does your pool have a leak, broken heater, or maybe needs some restoration? Is your pool showing its age and needs a facelift? Our renovation crew specializes in applying the latest modern techniques to transform your old pool into the oasis you always wanted. Swain Pools and Spas is Tallahassee's premier pool everything store. Call us today and we can answer all your questions. 850-386-7113. That's 386-7113. Or contact us online at swainpools.com.
And right next to Swain Pools and Spas is Tallahassee Car Care, the only repair shop where you can take a dip while we repair your whip.
Time. It's the one thing we never get back. We can't create it. We can't buy it. We can't store it somewhere. Once it's gone for good, which makes it the most valuable thing we have. The only real question is how we spend our time. So, how much time are you spending every day running in circles with a computer network using old software on old equipment that's wasting your time, that gets in the way and leaves you feeling angry and frustrated? Let's fix that. Call Crown Networking. They've been helping people just like you and I make the best use of their time for the last 20 years. Now is the time for you to make the call. Here's the number in Tallahassee, 850-999-0090, 999-0090, or online at crownnetworking.com. Oh, and talk to them about getting you a new phone system, too. You know, it's time.
Maddie, did you hear Grassroots Coffee is now the official coffee of FSU's NIL collective, The Battle's End?
Yes, I've heard tons of people talking about it and the new coffee, Battle's End Blend.
Yeah, every time you buy a bag of Battle's End Blend specialty coffee, you help support FSU athletes and help our Noles be more competitive.
Every time I buy a bag?
Anytime anyone buys a bag, retail or wholesale for business. Just imagine how much impact we can have if every time FSU alumni and fans take a sip of coffee, FSU athletes benefit.
Just go to grassrootscoffee.com, select Battles and Blend and the size and grind setting you want. And if you have a coffee shop, restaurant, or even a business that has coffee in the break room, you can buy it wholesale at Grassroots wholesale portal, grassrootscoffeeroasters.com.
Locally owned, locally roasted, locally loved, and committed to our Noles. Grassroots Coffee.
So good.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Couple of fun questions here, because I think a lot of people have ruminated on this and thought about it, and maybe they don't feel the same level of angst and frustration as this person does, but they have wondered. So here we go. I'm really interested, Ira, your answer and Corey's answer here. Trick Love the Kid says, I know because of mega contract, Norvell won't be fired this year, even if he were to go 4-8 and the high school recruiting was outside the top 20. He thinks that's likely. But would your faith and trust in him be shaken? He said his is broken. He thinks that this is that he's not going to recover from the kind of season he believes they're about to have. Do you think if this team goes 4-8, as he suggested, that he will be able to get this turned back around?
Let me say this. I was talking to a couple of friends of mine in coaching, not at Florida State, but just people in coaching. And I basically asked them the premise of if he has lost the team. I'm not saying he has.
Right. Just
but if he does lose the team, like, how do you get that back? Because, again, it's one thing when your first year, second year, you don't have the buy-in yet, which I don't think he did early in his tenure at Florida State, but you're still going somewhere and you can get there. Once, if you've had it and then lost it, can you get it back? One of the coaches I talked to said you need to watch how he would handle that. And when he sees signs of that manifesting, he needs to take action right away, running guys off, making changes, because that's the only way to get everything back in order. You can't just kind of wish it to go away. You can't just encourage everybody, come on, you've been with me before. Like, he would have to do some things to get it back. And then if he does, then maybe. But it's difficult. So I do think there's a path.
Corey, I want to give you a chance to answer, but it's really difficult to that point. I did something similar. I talked to a guy that was in Major League Baseball for 13 years and seen a lot of coaches come and go. And I said, have you ever talked to them about a clubhouse is out on a coach, out on a manager in baseball? Because we see that.
Yeah.
I think it's happened in Pittsburgh, by the way. But anyhow, when that happens, can you get it back? And this person said, it's highly unlikely. It is very, very difficult. It's why you can't let it happen.
Right.
If, to your point, if you see it, if you think it's in the midst of happening, you got to go scorched earth. You'd rather have a terrible season the next year and get those kids out if you have to, or assistant coaches or anybody else that's not in.
You can't handhold to get it back.
It can't fester.
Yeah, I would say that the difference between, obviously Major League Baseball and college football is the players make all the money in Major League Baseball, and you can't fire all of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you're stuck with that clubhouse. So you better get somebody in there that the clubhouse respects. I was watching Kenny Dillingham, a great start for his program here this year. They're 2-0, good win.
It's sprouting.
The bamboo is sprouting all over the place in Tempe. They have 60 new players this year.
Yep,
60.
Yeah, they do.
So the beauty now of college football is, yes, he might have. We'll see. He might have lost this team. I believe in his vision for the program, though. Meaning, I think he can replicate another team and get whatever mistakes he made. He can clean it up. It used to be when you signed turds and you had kids that didn't believe in you, you were stuck with them for 3 years, and they were cancers. Well, you can cut out the cancer now very, very quickly. And I think that's the difference in college football now is he could really completely if they go to the 105 scholarship limit, apparently he could legitimately bring in like 70 new players. Well, then you're creating the team right there. That's where the team starts. So they can all buy in again. And people that aren't bought in
Welcome
are
to
gone.
Colorado.
What? Yeah, well, that's a different deal. But yeah.
I know. I'm just saying, it's possible, but you
don't want to do that.
No, you're much better off. I think again, if you see signs of it, if you make examples of guys, get guys back in. And the bottom line is, man, and somebody asked earlier they were asking about in terms of recruiting, if guys had bought in, should they quit after or decommit after 2 losses? The one thing I'll say that I've said this about players for a long time, and I'll say it until I'm dead. Then I won't say it anymore. You guys won't have to hear it again. That'll be the last time.
Listen to the tapes.
I'll go talk to my dad and Corey's dad about it. But
hey guys, I've been meaning to tell you all this. Now that I'm dead,
the number one thing players know is wins and losses. Like I go back to it all the time. That 2012 team, when they lost to NC State and Florida, there were guys on that team, key players, leaders on that team who didn't believe in Jimbo Fisher. They didn't think he could win a national title. They thought he gave up on the run too quickly. They thought they didn't like some of his decisions in terms of how he treated certain players. Everybody wasn't treated the same.
You know who else didn't like it? Heather Dinich.
Heather Dinich also did not. But there were players on the team who felt that way. Then 1 year later, Jameis is Jameis. They win the national title. And a lot of those same guys, if you talk to them later, Jimbo is the greatest coach of all time. So at the end of the day, if you have success, the players are going to believe in you. They're going to buy in. If you don't have success, it's hard to keep it, man.
But don't you think the premise of this question was, could Norvell, it seemed like the premise was he's lost it forever. He can't get it back.
Well, the question was, he was saying he believes that. The real question was, would we think if they went 4-8, recruiting bottoms out, would our confidence that he can turn this around or fix it would it be shaken?
but mainly because we've seen him do it before, and this is not like a thing where you take a rebuild, you build it up, you crumble it again, no chance to ever bring it up again, just because the sport has changed so much. Like if they go 4-8, I'm not expecting them to be 12-0 in 2025, but I think they could be 12-0 by 2026. It can change that quick.
I also think if you start winning games, if you can get to the point where you're winning games, you won't have to worry so much about whether or not guys buy in.
Wouldn't that be nice?
They just want to have success.
Yeah.
I do think, and this is, again, we get into that things aren't black and white. They're in the gray. It's nuanced, these discussions about what makes a good recruiting staff and what doesn't. Is it money only? Is it relationships? All these sorts of things. I also think what we're watching is this seismic shift in the way that college football seasons look across college football year to year. You're going to see, I think, shocking results year over year. Like 1 year, Michigan wins the Invitational, and they may lose 5 times this year. That offense is putrid. Yeah. It is an embarrassment. That program, which has recruited well, should not look like that. Now, I know Texas is good, and I know Michigan's defense is good, but I don't think they're going to score many points. I think they looked awful in their first game as well, and I think they're going to lose 4 or 5 games. Granted, you could say they lost their coach, whatever. I just think what's going to happen is we're going to see the variance change to greater degrees than we ever did before, where the sustainability of greatness year over year was based on high school recruiting, and a genius recruiter like Bobby Bowden could stockpile athletes for days. And you had 3 a depth chart that was the envy of the nation, right? So if a guy sucked or he had a bad attitude and you told him to go to hell, the next guy up was an NFL player.
Well, you could, it goes along with the change in sports to be more professional,
right?
Where you can have these major league teams, you'll see them win a World Series, backtrack for 2 or 3 years, and then come back again.
Yeah.
And it's not a sustained 10 wins a year every year like Nebraska and Florida State back in the day.
Well, yeah, to me, I do think you're going to see weird results. Miami's a prime candidate after this year, but we'll see.
Georgia, I think Georgia is the anomaly. Georgia is the standard right now, but they're one of one. I watched Alabama play a lot of that game on Saturday night. This is not the Alabama from 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. They struggled. They had less than 200 yards going in that fourth quarter. Georgia is just different. So don't judge yourself against Georgia right now because they look incredible against everyone, but they're one of one.
Or do and just know you got a long way to go.
Sure. Well, that's another way to do it.
That's the other way to look at it. I don't want to just call it a day. Is nobody ever going to catch Georgia? We're not doing that. But I get it. You're a long ways away. Alabama's got twofold problems: a quarterback who's wildly inaccurate and defensive backs that are freshmen who can't cover. So that's troubling. But those two things were on display. And by the way, this pisses me off, but USF has linebackers. Come on, guys. Come on. We got to do better.
Hey, they'll be here next year.
Well, they play Miami in 2 weeks. USF does. That'll be interesting. Real quick question, because I think this question is emblematic of the frustration fans feel. And I'll bring this up and then I'll throw one other thing in there and you guys answer it. He says, how much longer does college football have before it implodes under this current structure? My new favorite team is any team playing Colorado, by the way. All right, Dan, well, just throw that in there. I think you and a lot of other people. But let me just say this as far as college football goes. A lot of people thought that deal with the House was going to get done, and everybody, in essence, it was going to act as a salary cap for everybody because they were going to get this money, and this is how much you had to spend on payroll, and they were going to incorporate it into whatever their collective was. And now they said, hey, go back to the drawing board, guys. This isn't going to work. I wonder how many people are going to get burned by that, and I wonder what does happen because I think a lot of people felt like that was a resolution to something, that we were, okay, now we get a sense of what they do have to do something because, Corey, I think we were talking about this one time, and I know all of us watch this sport, love this sport, and have been worried about some aspects of it. Even fair-minded people who wanted to see the players get paid thought, well, there's got to be some structure to it. The NFL does all of this much better. Like I said, be careful what you wish for if you're college football because there's a league that does this better and has been doing it for a long time. It's called the NFL. You can't just spend whatever you want in the NFL. You can't just willy-nilly do things in the NFL. There are rules to all of this, but there doesn't appear to be anything that from state to state, school to school is in place where we can have a sense of what is and what isn't in college football. There's no czar, there's no commissioner, there's no salary cap.
I do feel like there will be some sort of reforms at some point. We'll see. But I also think, man, we heard a lot of this when Travis Hunter decommitted. We heard a lot of this when Florida State was not winning. Then when Florida State started winning, a lot of FSU fans kind of forgot about the frustrations with the sport.
Okay, but I still think it's a fair point to make.
It is a fair point to make. But I'll tell you this, if you look at ratings on television for college football, higher than ever. As high as ever or higher than ever.
Yeah.
People still love this sport, even with these problems. The people who don't love it are the teams who are not very good. Texas fans love it right now. USC fans love it right now. If you're not winning, you're not going to love it. So I would say I think it's magnified when your team's not good.
But the problem, and this is going to be a problem moving forward, is I would say, and I keep saying this, college football, I would suggest, is the second most popular sport in the country.
Yeah, it has been for a while.
In front of the NBA, behind the NFL, but that's it. And it's slowly catching the NFL. It won't ever catch the NFL because the NFL is a monolith. But it would be nice if college football treated itself seriously, took itself seriously enough to know, okay, this is chaos. There are no guardrails in place where literally, and I keep bringing this up, if Patrick Mahomes was a free agent every year, what would the bidding be for him? The Falcons would pay $100 million for Patrick Mahomes. Okay, as we move forward.
$40 million.
I know. A great spend. Great check, by the way. That kid, look, give him time. It's our new system. Still getting his feet wet. It looked great other than the 2 interceptions and the 1 touchdown. But so that's my biggest problem moving forward is this sport needs to take itself seriously and realize it's okay to have a salary cap. I'm tired of people not seeing to have the bet. Like, I'm a college football fan at heart, and a lot of people are. It would be nice to know what the spending limits are. Because if it's
right now,
sport, be a professional sport.
The problem is to get the salary caps, there's a lot of members of the Congress, and there's a lot of stuff, antitrust issues. There's a lot of things that go into it. that are unique to college.
Oh yeah, and I also don't think it's solely about spending limits. I do think that it would be wise to go ahead and close one of these windows of transfers.
Yeah.
Yes,
Which
that's the bigger thing is you don't know what you don't know what your team is, and again, it's just chaos because every roster is a free agent. Every player in the country, 10,000 of them, whatever it is, they're free agents every year, and the bidding can go up and can go down. And I just think
you guys 100%.
The NBA doing that.
The only thing I would say is we spent no time talking about this last season.
Oh, I don't know that that's true. I don't think we dwelled on it. You're certainly right about that. We were too busy celebrating wins. But I think a lot of people hated the Wild West of what we were seeing. That was described that way.
So
it was
you
talked
were,
about.
yeah. So
I would also say this, Ira, is the SEC is caught up. Like Florida State got in there quickly with NIL. They exploited the portal more than anyone else. I would say the SEC and the Big Ten now are like, screw that noise. We can
we did talk a lot about needing to have the same basis for which you could spend, right? Like you had to be able to eat from the same money trough.
Yeah.
And that was an extrapolation of this current conversation.
Right. And that's where House would help if that happens. That's the belief is that it would be more uniform.
Because I think going into next year, and look, I know Cam Ward's played 2 games against 2 bad football teams. I get it. If they go 10-2 or 11-1 and he comes close to winning the Heisman, Jaden Daniels, a portal kid, did win the Heisman. The money for quarterbacks in college football is going to double and triple and quadruple. And then there's only going to be a certain amount of teams that can go spend and go get the real quarterbacks. And that's part of the problem is that you're going to Ohio State you talk about finite amount of money. Ohio State has infinite. And as we move forward and Florida State doesn't get out of this conference, by the way, as many ass kicking as the Big Ten can take on national television by SEC teams is good for Florida State. I just think that will be more of a problem moving forward.
It is,
but
so
it's also
strange.
fair to say this was not a talking point last year. But I don't think anybody watching Florida State is like they didn't spend money. They just didn't spend it well.
But there's hand wringing about the state of the sport when your team's not doing well.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah, it's also weird for you, Corey, to go ahead and give the SEC the star on the side of the helmet for Texas's win over Michigan.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy what this sport is?
Yeah.
That big SEC Big Ten intercontinental showdown.
It ain't good. Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Our local news now.
Thomasville Police Department say the mother of a Thomasville student has been arrested. That's after
Hey, headliners, it's time to talk Shopify. As you remember, a couple years ago, we decided to create and sell Headlines merch for the best podcast listeners in the world. That's you. But I had no idea where to get started. Now I'm selling Yay Sausage shirts, and it's so easy, all because I use Shopify. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Whether you're a startup working out of your man cave or IPO ready, Shopify is the only tool you need to grow your business without the struggle. Shopify puts you in control of every sales channel. You could be selling Don Julio socks from Shopify's in-person point-of-sale system or offering headline shirts from Shopify's all-in-one e-commerce platform. Whatever you need, you're covered. What I love about Shopify is how no matter how big you want to grow, Shopify gives you everything you need to take control and take your business to the next level. Because businesses that grow, grow with Shopify. Sign up today for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/warchant, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/warchant, all lowercase, now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. That's shopify.com/warchant.
Skies. Cloudy tomorrow. Chance for storms. High temperatures reach up to 81. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 83 degrees.
Your destination for the most authentic Peruvian flavors in the capital city is Café de Martín and El Bar, where you can escape to another world and indulge in the true taste and experience of Peru. Enjoy daily lunch specials like our all-new lomo saltado or beef asado sandwiches served with a side and a drink. All-day happy hour every day and exciting live entertainment every weekend. Join us this Saturday at 7 p.m. with Madison Avery. And don't miss Sunday jazz brunch from noon till 2. View our full menu and live music schedule online at cafedemartin.com.
At Paul's Termite and Pest Control, we know if you have something in your home that's not supposed to be there, you want it gone now.
Not in a couple of days, not tomorrow, but today. That's why we offer a same-day guarantee.
If you call Paul's before 12, one of our technicians will be out before 5. We guarantee it.
The health of you, your family, and your pets is why we promise to do everything possible to quickly resolve your problem.
And we do so using the safest chemicals. Notice a pest problem?
Call Paul's Termite and Pest Control before 12, and we're there before 5.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
We're all spending more time at home than we ever have.
And our yards have become more than something we look at through the window. They are now a major part of our refuge.
Now that we're outside more, wouldn't it be great if we could eliminate the things that make us want to run back inside? Pests like mosquitoes and fire ants.
Paul's Pest Control can do just that, and will do it for a surprisingly low cost.
Our treatments are done outside. There is never a reason to enter your home.
The weather is beautiful, and now is the time to be outside.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control will help you take your yard back.
Call us for a free consultation.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Let's keep it rolling here, boys, and get back to these questions.
Real quick, Corey, did you know that this isn't the end of Jeff's day at the end of the show?
Oh, side note,
He's got another hour.
He does.
I do, but I was just told by management it starts next week.
Oh man, I thought I was giving an early Christmas present to everybody.
I loved it.
We
Thank
were done,
you.
and Jeff was going to have another hour.
Yeah.
Starts next week.
Starts next. I thought it started today. I misinformed Ira, but starting next week, I'll be saying goodbye to you guys at the end of the show at 3:00, and I'll be here.
You know, we could do
knocking it out for another hour.
Can we stick around? Stick around.
You could do like around the horn. You let one of us stay. The winner gets to stay.
Oh,
with you.
that's true. I love it.
Corey has to go home.
I'd like to do news updates. Can I do the news updates when you take a break?
Absolutely. You got to write them. You got to be ready to go.
I got it. I'm just going to make stuff up.
Ian just contributed and said, we hear about Brock. How's Luke doing?
I thought Luke had some pretty good throws today. I don't think he's in that competition. I mean, I just think it's, it's clear that he's a much younger guy. Now you could say, I get it. People are going to say, well, I see DJ Lagway throw. I see the kid at Nebraska throw. I get it. I think those offenses in those situations are tailoring things to the freshman quarterback. And you could make an argument that maybe Mike Norvell should do that, but his plan is to run his offense and not change everything based on those young quarterbacks. And I think it's going to be, as the sample size gets bigger, it's going to be tougher for those freshman quarterbacks as they go on. They were probably given something that they could do in a limited sample. Once teams see it, it'll get tougher.
By the way, I like him a lot. He's long-term. I think he's going to be a really good player.
And I think he's been impressive.
I like Luke a lot.
Being here, just being a true freshman. He's been the best. I think he's been the most impressive true freshman quarterback we've seen since Norvell's been here.
I think he's definitely could be the future. I just don't think he's the president.
Brett writes, how many bricks have to be chipped for a change?
One more, and I think they're making a change. Apparently, they're making a change to the ambiance in the stadium. So it's a slow change type season, but we might see a change here soon.
There have been issues.
Hey, I never asked you, either of you, did you buy the nonsense after the complaints that there was some sort of player-held vote?
So, no, there was not a player-held. There's a lot of misinformation about the whole music thing.
Well, let's clear this up, buddy.
As best I can tell. And I'm not writing about it because, honestly, I know it's an annoyance. It's not that big of a deal to me. But
hey, if you were sitting down there, buddy.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're sitting in that posh press box with soundproof windows.
Okay. The reason, the only thing that was player involved was a year ago when they did decide to go with some music on third downs as opposed to the marching chiefs. Instead of doing the war chant, as always, that has to be the thing. They're going to do this music. I don't even know what the music. Do you remember what it was? Was it the same thing as it was last year that they're doing now on third down?
It was not the same, but anyhow,
okay.
Yeah.
So there was something that some of the players. It wasn't like a team vote. Some of the players requested something on third down. They decided to do it, and so that happened. But again, there wasn't this huge uproar last year about that. What happened at the game was nothing to do with the players. Like the stuff that happened at the game in terms of the music being crazy loud, playing between every snap.
Yeah, that was all pregame
stuff.
That was last year's discussion, wasn't it? Music for pregame, I think.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
But none of that stuff that really drove people crazy in this particular game was requested by the players or demanded by the players.
Right. So that's not a.
There's two separate situations. The third down, there's a music that some of the players wanted last year that they got. And again, nobody, I don't remember. I know Corey, we would complain about not being a lot of war chant or as much of the war chants in the past.
Yeah. More Chiefs was cried for last year. Yeah.
But it didn't seem to be the uproar it was after this game. This game, all that other stuff was their in-house staff making some poor decisions.
And it wasn't just it wasn't just the third down. It was every down. That was the issue. If it had just been third down, he'd be like,
a little, and it could just be because the stadium's half empty because
there's a combination. They think maybe because of that, there's some testing done, like whatever. It was an abomination. The scoreboards didn't work. The replay boards had things left out. The clock wasn't running.
Failure across the board.
I think they might have had some issues, Jeff.
I'll tell you what, these players this year, they get John Denver or nothing. Right. If they keep playing like this, they get Tom Petty. They don't get anything they want until they start winning games.
No, and here's the thing, Corey. You don't even get a good or quote-unquote good John Denver song. You get like Annie's song. You get like you
don't get one of those rockin' John Denver songs.
You get by with John Denver because Kim and I just had this conversation because there's a lot of John Denver over in Ireland. In the pubs in Ireland,
massive hit.
They love playing some country roads.
Yeah.
And thank God I'm a country boy.
Yeah, they loved it.
He was born in New Mexico.
Yeah,
what's going on there?
And he was flying,
the whatever experimental aircraft.
It sucked for him.
Killed himself.
That's a toughie.
Yeah.
I thought he was old when that happened. It's just that I was young and thought anybody over the age of 40 was old. When I went back and looked at what age he was, what a dumbass! Why are you in a glider shearing off into the rocks?
Man.
Come on, my man, get it together.
But shout out to him living and growing up in New Mexico and writing 2 anthems for 2 states he never lived in. He wrote West Virginia and Rocky Mountain High. Like, he crushed it.
He did at least move to Colorado and get high every day and had a reason to write about that backdrop. I don't think he ever spent a lot of time in West Virginia.
Right.
I don't know that's
maybe
true.
that's where he was gliding to.
Yeah. Ooh, he fell well short.
There's so many songs like that. The Swanee River guy was like in New York or something. He had never even seen the Swanee River.
Well, ultimately, the greatest compliment in the world is that everybody thinks CCR is from Louisiana. They're from San Francisco, California.
Skinner's from Jacksonville.
Yeah, no, it's all time good. By the way, Nathaniel, this is fantastic. You've outdone yourself, Hornblower. Here we go. Ryan Kelly once had to hit the reset button, give himself one more chance at a clean slate when he reinvented himself at Notre Dame, and it actually worked. He fired most of his staff, somewhat tamed his purple-faced temper, started getting up early and working out, eating better.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he did. Stopped putting his kids on rickety towers and gale force winds.
Plunging to their deaths.
When Mike inevitably has to fire a significant portion of this staff after the season, should he quit racing the team at the start of practice?
Ooh.
Perhaps sleep in a little, Mike. Go full Mark Bangino. Get fat as hell. Start smoking Pall Malls. Recklessly put a few student staffers in harm's way on a daily basis.
Switch it up. I will say this. It's not – talk about things that are different when you lose. I don't think the Florida State fan base finds it nearly as cute when their head coach is racing defensive linemen when they're 0-2. I'm just going to throw that out there.
It's suddenly being brought up in my text mentions.
It's everything, man. Now everybody's mad at everybody. They're mad at us.
That's how it works.
They're mad at the support staff. Everything sucks when you're losing. And so they're looking to blame every single person.
But really the only person that deserves any ire at all is the DJ.
Well,
which DJ?
Which DJ is right.
There's 3 of them to choose from.
There's a lot of DJs that we're just disgusted with at this point. On the field, off the field. Yeah, it's just.
Who's been the best DJ? I guess Lundy, right?
Mike, how are you feeling about your DJs?
Oh, my God. That's a toughie. Those guys are grading out. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There have been issues.
There are a lot of issues, man. Hey, can you ask him the next time you're at practice, Ira, about the DJ?
Oh,
can you ask him? Yeah, I'm sure he would love that. I'm sure he'd love that this became a PR nightmare for him in the midst of starting 0-2. And that
people talking about his football team.
And the other thing I would say about the whole thing, like the team was not happy with the music either. Like they were pissed as well because it was affecting. They couldn't hear on the sideline. They're trying to get.
Oh man!
I mean, the internet's not working. They can't look at their iPads. They're in a rave.
How much time is left in the quarter?
Somebody did text me, Corey, that you know where the internet does work well in Doak Campbell Stadium, the Champions Club.
Oh, good. Well, let him go sit up there.
Yeah. Air conditioned. It was hotter than Hades in that stadium the other night. That Champion Clubs was kicking, man. They had the internet.
The Wi-Fi.
They had crappy food in abundance. They could get their drink on.
Mike could send a staff member up to the Champions Club.
Yeah. Hey, take the iPad. Tell me what formation they're in here. I can't.
Yeah, get Hakeem's phone. Get Hakeem's phone because you're going to have to text it back.
Is there 7 in the box? 8 in the box?
We're too high.
They have 12 in the box?
What's going on here?
There have been issues.
Justin writes, on the bright side, I can't wait for another kick in the McNuggets when FSU basketball starts.
Yep, got a month till that starts up.
There have been issues.
Okay, RA writes, gentlemen, 2 questions. Is FSU a bad team or a good team playing poorly? What are the chances this December Warchant is writing articles explaining that Arkansas had a deal with Coach Mike Norvell since Ireland?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Too soon, man. I think they're good. I think they can be a good team playing poorly. That's what I think. We'll see.
What we know it all Saturday. What we know everything Saturday.
Jeff does not seem to think Memphis is all that in a can of beans.
I don't think their personnel. Now, I think they're well coached, and I think they know what they are, and I think they'll execute. But I don't think physically you should be at a mismatch here. This isn't something where you're like, "Oh, that's a future first-round draft pick at quarterback." He's not. He's not that guy. He's a good college player. But the problem is, both the quarterbacks you just lost to are not NFL quarterbacks either. So. They're not.
They do present challenges.
Yeah, they have in that they run, and you knew they were going to run, and yet
there have been issues.
Built by Storms writes, I remember times when Bowden was coaching, the crowd would beg for the backup game after game, but Bowden was confident enough in his decision to keep rolling the starter out there. Yeah, man, the teams were loaded up until the lost decade, anyhow. How strong is Norvell's resolve to go with what he thinks is best and not what the crowd thinks? Well, I mean, I don't think he's going to acquiesce to the crowd. The crowd wants to see better quarterback play, and they're right to want to see better quarterback play. And if DJ sucks this week, that's it. There'll be no way you can go back to him in game 4. You couldn't.
If he sucks through 3 drives, I think that's it. I think if you can't run and he's not seeing it, you've got to try something. If you've got 0 points and 2 first downs at the end of the first quarter, enough. It's 2024. Offense isn't this hard. I watch all these games, Ira.
No, I'm with you, buddy. The thing I would say, though, is the other thing about it is, they did at some point in camp talk about turning it into somewhat of DJ's offense. Like they were going to tailor things that they thought he could do well, he felt comfortable in. If you do make a change at some point to Brock, maybe you go to a much different looking offense.
You're going to run the hell out of Brock.
Yeah. So, I mean, that may, look, man, it's always
you have your receivers sit on the bricks. That's DJ's offense. They're just sitting on the wall.
He can hit him.
He can hit him right there in the chest.
Yeah, it won't count, but he can hit him. Woo. I don't know, fellas. We got a minute to go. I can't ask another question. I think we're going to call it a wrap.
Let me ask you one question.
Yeah.
Did watching some of these other teams play that, like SMU, they just benched their quarterback.
Yeah, they look terrible.
Cal had a nice win.
Cal's defense is for real.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, apparently
so.
Yes.
That didn't make me feel good.
SMU, though?
I feel good about SMU.
Right.
You need to win this game.
SMU.
What about just the whole state of college football? Like you mentioned, Michigan looks awful on offense. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. That's going back real quick to what we were talking about with the changing of the sport that I don't like so much. Florida State should have been a playoff team. Washington and Michigan were playoff teams, and they don't look anything like. Washington's not even ranked. Michigan and Florida State have horrible offenses, and it was just 9 months ago they were all undefeated. Yeah, like that's kind of what the college football is going to be now, where if you don't have a Patrick Mahomes or you're not Georgia, there's gonna be a lot of fluctuation in this sport. A lot of it.
I think fluctuation for a lot of reasons, not just quarterback, but we can't reopen this. This is another conversation. But hey, good work out of you. Bye. Say goodbye, Corey.
Love you.
Love you. Peace. Love you guys too. Ira, goodbye.
See ya.
Thank you. Be good. Love you too. And to all of you who listen, we appreciate you. Love you guys too.